Go.
Okay. The most interesting thing happening in the area that I work in is that the theater space has sort of lost its borders, and what seems to be happening is that the fourth wall, which is like this concept in theater that seems to be one of the most central things, that the action happens on one side and the audience is on the other, and people always talk about the magic of the live communication across the fourth wall. Well, the fourth wall just keeps being moved, bent, made porous, or dismantled completely. And so you see this with a lot of site-specific or promenade or what's called site-suggestive work, where the theater action moves out of the space in a traditional way and onto either the street, the internet, into a bunker, into a warehouse, or into the front room of your own house. And what this is doing is actually enhancing all the aspects of theater that are participatory and interactive. The role of the playwright changes in this because one of the great things about doing work for an actual theater space is that you know your top, your bottom, and your left and your right, really, and you know what your parameters are, and then you can make magic within that very contained way. And in a sense, the kind of theater I work at has 150 seats. It's almost like seeing close-up magic. And when you move out of that space, and this is happening with galleries, this is happening with music, but it's happening most particularly and thrillingly in theater, you do leave yourself open for a whole lot of other problems. Like, the audience can answer back. Because one of the things that happens when you remove the fourth wall is that the audience forgets that there ever was one. And that's great. I mean, it's changing the whole idea of performance, and it's changing the idea of text. But one of the things that's interesting where media is concerned is that as these areas of work also move not just to live performance, but to sort of mediatize live performance, theater, in some way, the media element of it gets naturalized, and you forget that you're watching it on a screen sometimes. And it doesn't do away with that participatory element either. So, you know, we're seeing this a lot in the company I work for. We're doing a lot of commissions across platforms and trying to extend the reach of the work beyond just the experience that happens for 90 minutes in our building. Should I go on and talk about some projects?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's up to you, man.
So there are two interesting projects that really capture the spirit of this evolution. One is that we're doing a project called the Women of the Western Ward, and it's based on kind of like life stories of Arabic and Bangladeshi women in Paddington. So we're going to talk to them, do workshops, get a lot of content and stories and testimony, and make a short play. But to go along with that, we're also going to have an interactive map and locate a lot of those stories, photos, recipes, memories, tips. You know, all the hallmarks of a relationship with a particular neighborhood we're going to actually locate on an interactive map. And so you'll be able to like walk through the area with an iPad in your hand and get a little nudge telling you that shop over there is where so-and-so buys her curries, and that shop over there is where, you know, her father works, and stuff like that. And actually, you'll start to encode the relationship with character and story in a really different and somewhat more personal way.
Wait, so that's going to be like actually physically in the location when you walk around with it?
So there's going to be three ways you can get this map. The one is online, and you can cruise around and actually tag places yourself and be like, oh, that's where I had a shitty date with that guy, or you know, that's where I got mugged. But you can also get it in something called an iPack, which is basically a little bit of like kind of located media that knows where you are and relates you to the environment. And there's something just so profound and basic and fundamental about that that theater has never succeeded at in a natural way. You don't necessarily have an emotional relationship with the architecture of the building. You have it with the play and the work you had there. But when you walk past the theater, usually you don't feel stirred by the architecture. And so what we're trying to do is actually say, forget the theater for a minute, think about the characters and the stories and the kind of psychogeography of the theater. Another project that we did, this was a couple months back.
You got 25 seconds.
You won't hear about it.
So when you do the geolocated stuff, has that happened yet, or is that what you're working on?
I'm working on it right now.
When do we think that's going to happen?
November.
Really?
Yeah.
And there'll be an experience out like that I can just do on the web, or do you have to physically walk through it?
No, you can do it on the web. Or, just to be kitschy, you can come to the theater and pick up a little yellowed scroll of a map and actually look at it that way too.
Cool.
You know?
Well, that was 5 good minutes. Thank you.
Okay.